So good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're listening from, ladies and gentlemen and advocates of sustainable future. Welcome to today's masterclass on diversification and digitization of agriculture, and specifically focusing on beekeeping. Today's masterclass is hosted by the Society of Crop Agribusiness Advisors of Kenya, and we are really appreciating this SOCA because they've been holding masterclasses since 2020, just educating the public about different sectors, what is to be done in agriculture, and improving the food security at your farm level, at your livelihood level, and also at the government level, national level. So SOCA is a professional body which is basically was launched in December of 2015, and this is recognized by the Kenya Government State Department of Agriculture. Our membership is drawn from different, various agricultural bodies, including producers, exporters, input and service providers, as well as consultants at individual level. So members participate definitely in activities of SOCA. We have different activities that that take place, and one of them is obviously the masterclass, but also we consult in various aspects across the supply chain of food production to just ensure that we are getting a food secure country, and matters of food safety are also managed during the consultation. Our mission is to grow the critical mass of engaged members who have a significant impact on improved agricultural practices and policies, raising crop farmers and income. And as we proceed today, we are pleased to have you join us as we delve into one of the most interesting topics of very important animals. These are social animals, and they are one of the things that make sure that we are actually feeding, because without bees, we can't actually live. And we have to, we might have disregarded their great influence and the amount of harvest that we address in terms of low food production. But today we'll learn more about why they are important in our food chains, and beekeeping has immense benefits. We are going to learn about that. According to the bee experts, especially at the FAO, this is one of, food production depends on bees. We can't, pollination happens because of bees. And just getting a quote about the sacred passages that bees in all world's major religions highlight the significance of human societies over millennia. And this comes from the 2019 report from the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem, IPBS. So today we are glad to host Mr. Chris Nzuki. I would call him Daktari Wanyuki, the doctor, the bees doctor. He's the CEO of Hive Group, which has its presence in about 16 African countries. The Hive Group operates in the honey value chain by establishing well-tested turnkey beekeeping models and systems with farmers in Africa. Christopher has led the establishment of these robust beekeeping systems that provide technical support and capacity building for modern and appropriate technologies for working with the aggressive African bee, thus maximizing its potential in honey production. The hive completes the value chain by aggregating and off-taking all the bee products such as bee, wax, propolis, pollen from farmers. So thank you so much, and let's get started. Over to you, Mr. Chris Nzuki.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm more than pleased to be with you. I hope audible enough. And my name is Christopher Nzuki, Chief Group. Business in several countries in the continent, and of course in Africa and within its highlands. And say if you will go to some of the countries like Tanzania, Uganda, even South Sudan, Malawi, Zambia, Chad or Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, you'll find that there are projects that we are doing, and we are actively involved in delivering the same products to the final consumer. consumers. I see someone has already shared the screen that we are going to discuss about. I would say that beekeeping is one of the most important agricultural, taking the bees alone is one of the most important agricultural input that we should always consider when we are doing crop production. And when we look at the next slide that we do have here, I hope the person who is rolling the slides will be quick enough. You can appreciate the importance of beekeeping. It's not just honey, as many of us would think of. If you look at all these fruits that are put around there, which I have picked from the Department of Agriculture in the US at the Cornell University, you realize literally we need bees in every realm of every agriculture that we are doing. And all the crops that we are growing, it is always important to think of diversifying a little bit, even if you want to do one line of a crop, whether you're doing apples, you are doing grapes or maybe melons, to think of and introducing bees, about fertilizer, about pesticides, you think about crop nutrition, the guy who forms the crop itself is the bee. I always say that whatever we are doing as human beings, we move to where we are actually for a seed, and this seed, for it to be formed, there are
Okay, I think there's a problem on Zuki's side. Zuki, your internet is slowing down. Maybe you can turn off the video so that we can hear you, and you're on mute currently.
I hope I've not lost everything.
No, you are just on this slide, so just check your internet. Hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Just check your internet.
So it should be okay now. I'm sorry for that.
Yes, it is. Please, please proceed.
I do not know where I lost you. But all
you
the
are
same,
discussing this slide, so maybe you can just start it here.
Yeah. Okay. I was saying, just the way any farmer, any crop farmer would think of which seed am I going to use? Which crop nutrition program am I going to adopt? Or which pesticides am I going to use, or plant protection products am I going to use? In the end, it shouldn't be, one should also ask himself, who is going to form the fruit? And that is the bee. So in thinking of crop production, to where I stand also as an agronomist, every agronomist should think about the source of pollination and therefore put it into consideration. Even if you are growing parthenocarpic products that will give you, maybe they don't require bees, they will form the fruit anyway, it is always good to know there is a relationship that exists within the ecosystem. For it to be complete, you need to have these amazing insects, because they will need to collect their pollen from your fields. They'll need to collect some nectar from your fields. And they also help in making that the ecological cycle around your farm is complete, by making sure that there is good pollination and there is also good interaction of all the nature organisms around there, and there's a complete state of everything. Doing, for example, apples, doing avocados, doing, let's say, watermelons, or doing, peach, or doing pears, or all these that are listed in here. I picked it up from a research, source, and you can see even cotton, practically you need them for purposes of making sure that you get the right fruit, the right production, the right amount of yield that you would want. And some research documents I was looking at are talking of just by introducing bees in these crops that depend on bees for pollination, you would improve your yields between 30% to 52%. And that is quite a significant amount of yields that you would want. Apart from that, the bees will also provide, they will also provide an extra source of income in your portfolios, or your lines of production. So it's a safe diversification of, if you were to look at it in that perspective. I would want to go to the next slide. Rolling to the next slide. This answers the question, why should I get involved in beekeeping? Whether you are an agronomist or anybody that would really want to ask himself or herself this question. First of all, it's a source of food. We get honey, we get pollen, and we need pollen on every breakfast. For example, before you swallow anything, you need to really clean the gut using a cup, which is mixed up with some pollen and some lemon. And we say it cleans up one in out. Royal jelly. At least everyone should hide himself or herself some royal jelly somewhere in your kitchen shelves. As you know, it functions in three, it has three functions in our bodies, but many people do not know about it, but yet we need it. We always say every problem of a human being has its solutions in the hands of the bees. So the royal jelly, first of all, helps in delaying of the aging of the body cells. So it is an anti-aging product. And number two, it also creates a kind of a wall around the body cells to ensure that there is a control of infections of viruses, or bacteria, or even funguses. And that's why the queen bee is able to live for 5 years, while the rest of the bees, which are just bees like her, they will only live for 48 days and they die, because she only feeds on royal jelly, while other bees feed on exclusively on pollen mixed with honey, which is called bee bread. And finally, royal jelly is also the master when it comes to fertility, improvement of fertility for both men and women. And you would appreciate that the queen bee lays between 1,800 to 2,300 eggs every day. So all the bees, all the queen bees in the world, most of them laid eggs of that kind of volume today, and they will do that tomorrow, and they will do that without any holiday for 5 years. Of course, the laying capacity decreases with age of the queen, but that is usually the range which they keep the productivity of the colony. Number two, we need them for pollination. The slide above has just mentioned the importance of pollination on all the crops that we are growing. So if any one of you or any one of us, like I do, is growing melons, there is no question you need 5 to 8 hives or 5 bee families in your field per acre. So without that, then you would expect that you're going to harvest nearly half of your melons or even more, which cannot actually fetch good price results in the field, because when you cut it inside, it is that whitish, meat inside, and even the seed is just basically not tasty. But when you get a melon which is dark inside, dark red inside with black seeds, that is evidence that bees were available to pollinate that. They may not be enough to pollinate your farm. And that's why we say we keep between 5 to 8 bee families in the farm to ensure that there is complete pollination. It is also a source of income. We say 1 shilling for 1 gram of good honey. And that's a figure. One colony is capable of giving, I don't know that someone to confirm that I am with you. Because
yes, you are. It's okay.
Okay, so once in a while you need to nod. So, so anyway, it's source of income because one colony is able to give you between 60 to 100 kilograms of honey annually if it is healthy and it is well maintained. So you can see if, for example, you are growing 1 acre of melons or 1 acre of, let's say, apples or 1 acre of macadamia or even 1 acre of coffee. If you had only five hives, and by any chance you don't get the full production, but get at least 60 kilograms of honey, you're talking of 300 kilograms of honey, which is an extra source. In terms of looking at it as your business, your key product is the melon or is the crop that is in the field. But here you are also getting another source of income that you are not necessarily, it's just a side hustle, as they say. And if you are talking of 1 shilling per gram, then you are talking about over 300,000, which basically was not in your budgets of the crop, but is coming from there. And that's honey alone. If you look at pollen now, in our organization, we buy pollen, a kilogram is going between 2,800 to 3,800, depending whether it is monoflora or it is mixed flora. And that is also honey. And one colony, one bee family, out of the 8 or out of the possible 5 that you have in an acre, is able to give you a kilogram every week because you have the crop and is producing pollen. Including, you find bees in the maize plantations, because in the maize plantations, they may not be collecting the nectar because there isn't, but they collect the pollen for their own protein source. And therefore, the royal jelly, which in Kenya we buy for 30,000 shillings per kilogram. And you can harvest quite several amount of royal jelly from the fields. And then you have other 2 products, which I would end with. One is propolis, which is harvested, especially this time when it is raining and is getting cold, or in July when it is cold. And that one, a kilogram we harvest, we buy it from our own farmers between 3,000 to 5,000 shillings per kilogram. Finally, we have the bee venom. And I think you will have to appreciate that the bee venom is one of the most expensive products that we have in the world, because a gram is never goes below $100. So if you have harvesting several grams of that, then you can do your mathematics. And in Kenya, especially us at the Hive Group, we have 3 farmers who are producing that. I know that last year in Tanzania, for example, we got a kilogram and 3/4 of a kilogram. So you can imagine what kind of a volume is that. And then again, leaving that alone, wax, you need it for use, the industrial use, for soaps, for soap production, for candle production, for, the lip balms. We can't do basically without wax as human beings. We need it in our daily life. Each one of us used wax-oriented product these days, whether it was soap, whether it was lip balm, or it was some candle you were doing what you're doing. But yeah, you need wax and we need it. And then for even the food wraps, we're using wax for food wraps because you can just eat the entire thing with the food inside. It is source of raw beekeeping. Also produces materials which are for industrial use, the wax being one of them, honey being one of them. And again, also, as I said, the bee venom itself, because it's used for production of drugs that are used for control and the management of rheumatism. And it is actually one of the best and most expensive drugs that you can use. It is source of employment. I mean, through the entire value chain, from the production of the beehives, from the management of the beehives, to the harvesting, to the selling of the honey, to even those who distribute and other vendors in between, I failed to get the statistic of Kenya, how many people are employed under this sector, but I'm seeing in what we are doing already, there is in a village, example, I will pick like an Oropoi village in Turkana, for example. We have set a project there of 400 hives, and I am aware that in our data here, we have more than 1,800 households who are benefiting from the project. And in the last 1 year, we have been able to inject more than $35,000 into that village by buying the bee products which are over there. So you're thinking about beekeeping to transform some project that can transform a certain community which you would want to help or you would want to work with, then beekeeping is the easiest catch because it doesn't require a lot of effort when already implemented. I would say the other point there, which is environmental conservation, is direct. All our lives, all the plant lives, most of them, because over 80% of pollinated plants are pollinated by bees. And out of that 65 or to 68% are actually pollinated by the honeybee. So we have a reason to be involved in environmental conservation. And it must be done professionally if you want it to be sustainable so that the long-term future of the bees is well secured. It is also a source of medicinal products, I mentioned that, and the remedy for human-wildlife conflict. In Tanzania and some other countries, we are using, even in Kenya, we are using what we call bee fences. Live fence is not using electricity, but between the wildlife zones and where people are farming or where communities are farming, we go spacing beehives 25 meters, 25 meters, 25 meters. We create a corridor for bees. So the elephants will not cross. They have a lot of respect for bees, elephants. Also, the monkeys do also have that because they have a soft face. So they have a life to take care of, and they would prefer not to cross the borders to go and interfere with the villagers' crops or your crops. So it is a good remedy for that, and it works very well. And agro-tourism also, well arranged and well managed apiaries are a source of tourism attraction centers. People will come around. Even in our own apiaries, we see people coming to pay 1,000 at least to visit our apiaries. And that's also a source of income. And it's quite interesting when they wear the bee suits and they are able to visit that. We have had the opportunity to host several heads of states in some of our apiaries coming to visit and see how it is done and why, and is it true that I can visit the beehives and harvest some honey and eat it on the site or something like that. So it is, we don't actually call it agro-tourism, we call it apitourism. It's a new term that is coming in with the growth of the beekeeping. Again, finally, educational and a recreational thing. Many beekeepers are actually hobbyists. They are keeping a beehive outside their compounds for purposes of just basically feeling good as a hobby. They get their 1 kilo or half a kilogram for their breakfast, and they feel good on that. And we are having a lot of institutions using it also for education of universities, colleges, secondary schools, primary schools, and the clubs that are involved they would want to venture into that. Gender inclusivity. Traditionally, and I'll mention in a slide that I'll be passing just through, beekeeping, especially in this world, in this part of the world that is Africa, has been really a preserve of men, and especially aged men. And by that way, they have eliminated women and to some extent the youth from beekeeping, because it's not comfortable for women to climb on trees to go and look for honey on top of hives that are behind there, or even to harvest more so to harvest it at night. And even the mode of dressing is not comfortable for that gender. But now with the introduction of modern beekeeping hives, like the Langstroth hives, women are now really in full momentum in getting involved. And as I say today, our largest beekeeper in Rwanda, for example, is a lady. So that is good progress, and we are seeing really huge production and a lot of activity going in, amongst women and women groups. I can mention quite a list of them. The advantages, of course, income diversification, as I said, for your farm. If you are only thinking about the melons can fail, your crop can fail, but because a flower came, at least the flower was formed, even if the crop did not form. Even if the fruit did not form, you get your nectar, and that nectar is converted into honey, and that is source of income. So you can actually relieve yourself some of the losses you would have incurred, and all that can be consumed by that. We have seen that especially in sunflower production. The sunflower flowers very well, but then the yield may go down, and that farmer saves himself or saves herself by the honey that he's going to get there through selling that. And sometimes they make double the amount of money they would have gotten from the sunflower from the honey. And again, it's low running costs. Remember that you don't have to be present for the bees to do their job. They don't require you to go cutting fodder for them. They don't require you to take them to the field, to the river to go and get their water. They don't require you to go and apply fertilizer on them. They don't require you to go and apply any pesticides to them. They wake up in the morning and they do their job. So if any one of the members here is in the US or in the UK, or in Japan, wherever you are, or even in Nairobi and your rural places over there, the bees will keep working without your presence. So that's why we say low running cost. And they only need your visit after every 4 to 6 weeks. And in most cases, you'll be going to harvest. So you'll be coming to get some, another source of income for yourself in the cities. And of course, even as you sell the extras, you have fed yourself well because you know where you are getting your own honey from. Remember, bees, I love them because, especially on the last point, they don't care whether you have a neighbor or you don't, whether you are friends, you are the neighbor, or you are not friends. They will anyway go there in the effort of doing their good thing, and they will go collect the nectar and bring it into your own hives. Of course, the stories that will fall out, the fallout that would be there if you let your goat or your cow to jump into your neighbor's space. You would have possibly a serious case there. But in this case, bees are just all over. All the neighborhood is your space, is actually a zone for your nectar harvest. And then it is small space that is required in your farm. Bees do not require a fertile ground for you to put up your hives. Just use the wastelands there. That corner where you have those stones there, where you heaped the stones when you are clearing your farm. That small valley or gully inside your farm there, that's where you put your hives. They will fly out and they will go where they want to go to collect the nectar from there. Let's go to the next slide. These are some of the bee products. I would say the name honey is a very important name. And I think each one of you in one way might have used the name honey, not only as a product, but in one way. The formation of the product itself is a process that is completely out of this world. Because a bee goes into a nectar, into a flower, harvests the nectar. On its way, it mixes inside the honey sac, which is inbuilt inside the belly of the bee. It mixes with some enzymes and now comes and empties it inside the honeycomb. And when it empties inside the honey cell, the comb cell, it is no longer nectar. Now the name has changed into honeydew. And then from there, they keep fanning out the excess moisture from 97% all the way to 19%. Now it becomes honey when it is that level. And that process is long and is an expensive process that is done by these golden insects. So when this name honey is used, should be placed in the right place, and it is quite an expensive product if it is genuine. You can see the pollen. You can visit some of our shops. The royal jelly, the bee venom I mentioned to you is packed in high-end shops, and the honey itself. And going to the next slide, these are the products that we trade on, and actually the essence why we are in beekeeping is because of these products, and that's what we actually trade in. The royal jelly, for example, this bottle you see here, which could be maybe, if basically, let me guide you with a kilo. A kilogram, we sell it for 93,000 Kenya shillings. So if you are buying it in dollars, we are stuck to the rate of 100 to $1, 100 shillings to $1. So that basically, we are talking of quite a significant amount. That's about $920. So $920 per kilo. So it is quite an important product, and you need it. The next slide over there. This is the way we set beehives. There is no two way. If you have to realize value for your money, the beehives are supposed to be set up like this. One box you are seeing is what I was saying is capable of producing between 60 to 100 kilograms of honey. As you can see, it is it's something that is attractive to your site or my site. And they are set up in different, quite aesthetic ways that can actually attract a tourist. And we do that. There is money there's a income that comes through just setting up the hives, by people coming to say, hey, I just want to go and visit your apiary. And they pay you something for that because it's your effort. Next slide. This is the traditional way of beekeeping. Of course, it has its value, because one thing it has, that there's potential in Africa. I picked up this photo, for example, in one of the streets in Arusha. Some honey vendor was just basically keeping, these buckets full of the mixed stuff together. Everything you can see, it's yellow. There's pollen there, so that's what people are being given on the streets. You just go there with your jar, he puts honey there, and this is what they are calling honey. But the method of production is really doesn't put into hygiene into consideration. They harvest those hives. They harvest that honey from those hives you are seeing on that tree over there. At night, they can't see well. So basically what they do is they use excess smoke. Smoke is alkaline. Honey is a little bit acidic. So it absorbs all the smokes. So that is the first pollution position they place the honey into. And then because they can't see well, they put everything inside the bucket. And then they smash it with the pedal you see there, the one for making ugali. And then that's what you are feeding. Some bees were trapped there. The bees are carrying a sting at the end of their belly. That sting, when it bursts, is full of venom. So when some of us eat honey, you'll find you're having stomachache because most of that fluid, poisonous fluid, was left in that honey. And as a residue, when it meets your in a way, wound and stomach, for some reason, if there are some stomach ulcers, then you start having quite serious, painful stomachache because there were presence of venom inside it. So this method, we are working with the farmers wherever we are to try to, by setting up, centers of excellence and training centers to show them the way, because the potential is there. There is evidence. Bees have no option but to occupy those kind of hives. So if we put an apiary like the one you have seen above there, then you realize big production than the way you can do here. This hive can only give you a maximum of 18 kilograms if you harvest well in a year, and you can only harvest once or twice if you are lucky in a year. For now, it is not a technology that is scalable. We must be able to move from there, but keep this one as heritage, because it still works in its own level. But again, it is not the way that we can think of scaling up the ability of bee production. It is wasteful in terms of bees, because most of the bees are killed in the process of harvesting. So when we are talking of minimizing a reduction of bees population in the world, because we are threatened as a human race, the bees are declining, the population is declining. In US is really a big issue. In Europe is a bigger issue than even in the US, and we know the reasons, and we have to make sure that our organic genetic pool of bees is well maintained and kept, and therefore we are in the forefront campaigning to ensure that we use the best methods of beekeeping than the traditional ones. So let's move to the next slide. Yeah, this if you want to start beekeeping, you just need a starter kit which puts together everything that you need. Like you can start with 10 hives, but we always say 30 is the best minimum. 30 hives, mostly Langstroth hives, is the best minimum. You need a bee brush so that you don't kill bees when you're harvesting. You just wipe out them softly. You need a honey extract to extract honey from the comb, and you take back the comb again to the hive so that the bees do not waste time building a comb again. It takes 8 kilograms of worth of honey for them to build 1 kilogram of comb. So you really need that comb again, and you take it back again to the hive, and the bees start filling in with honey. That tool you are seeing there called the extractor is the game changer because it makes sure that you do not destroy your comb. You need a bee suit. Honey should be harvested and you should be managing and visiting your bees during daytime, not at night, so that you know what you are doing. You are able to see what you need exactly from the hive, whatever time you want, and you know you are able to inspect properly. The hive tool down there, the smoker is key because when you smoke a little bit, not too much of it, when you smoke a little bit of smoke, it destroys or it distorts the communication synchronous between the bees. That's why your pilot always, when he's flying, he says, no smoking, because that also interferes with a lot inside there. So synchronous in the bees then are not able to assemble themselves to gang up to come for their defense and then hit you strongly. So you need the smoker to make sure, and never go to the hive without a smoker and a bee suit. Those two things, if they are not there, don't bother. Even when you are chasing bees from a compound where they have come too much, the best thing is to light up what we call smoke branches around your compound. They will run away. They don't like smelling the smoke with their spiracles. And then the honey sieve so that you are able to sieve, and it should be a double sieve, and then capping fork to uncap your. This is actually the best beekeeper starter kit you can have. Training is important. You need to be trained how to keep bees. Don't just go and put the hives there because they require a professional approach. They require a procedure on the way. You need to be able to study the bees and communicate with them. Do they need, is it the time that I provided them with supplementary food? Is it the time that I provided supplementary water? By regular inspections, and this training, we normally do it. The beekeeper starter kit training, we do it maybe for a day, and we do another follow-up training during what we call the placement of the supers or the tops, and like that. So training is very important, and mentorship. We don't really like supplying. Even if you insist, we still keep inviting you for trainings once you get the hives from us, and that is key for us because it addresses a sustainability question. Move on. Now we are moving very fast from here because I just speak. We are doing this beekeeping because we need honey for our shops. Currently in Kenya, we need 600 metric tons of honey. We cannot get 100 metric tons of clean honey that we can supply in our shops. We have 16 shops in Kenya. In Nairobi, for example, we have 5 of them. If you go to Sarit Center or to Two Rivers or some of high-end malls, there you'll find them here. If you go to Mombasa, you'll find us in several of the malls there. Malindi, like this shop you are seeing here, is in Malindi. Somebody has run quickly. This shop is in Malindi. It actually serves the entire Kilifi, Lamu, and the Tana River counties. So it's like a hub, and we need honey, and we don't have enough honey. And we only work with our own farmers. So after we have trained them, we call them ours, and there are contracts that we've signed with them, and they are able. Move to the next slide. These are you can see that's a shop that is in Kisumu, one of the malls there. We have 2 of them in Kisumu. There is a shop down there. You are seeing some ladies there wearing some Sahelian hats. That is a roadside shop, and we of course we do some coffee for travelers. It is in Voi. We have another one in Kakamega. We have another one in Garissa Road. You can always visit. And that what you are seeing up there, it looks just a lorry, but it's a mobile factory. So we are able, in some organized community groups which we have set up over time, We normally visit with this truck, our several trucks. So when we have them, we go visiting and we are able to harvest, and then we come, we process, we extract the honey there, and then we come with our honey, and then we leave them with their hives going on. Move to the next slide. Yeah, this is a shop. This particular one is in Sarit Center. Maybe some of you have been visiting and buying some honey there. So different malls. Another one, move on. The next slide. This is how honey is harvested. Over there on the right, on the right, on the left-hand side at the corner there on top, you see how you pick the honey from a hive. You carry it the way this was a training in Tanzania. You can see that is how the comb is filled. You put it in an extractor over there where the Malawian lady is holding. After the extraction, you can see on the bottom of your right hand, honey has been taken off from the comb through centrifugal force of that small extractor you're seeing that lady over there. Now what you are left here is an empty comb. You take it back again to the hive and they start filling in. So you harvest between 4 to 6 times in a year from the same hive. So it's quite the best method you can use for beekeeping. The next one. That is how a Langstroth, a regular Langstroth hive should look like. Classically, that is the best hive we have around, not only in Kenya, not only in Africa, but in the world. Everything is standardized in this hive. You can see the only thing that is not wood is only the top cover. Every part of that hive is wooden, making the place just basically look natural for the bee. I can talk about different parts of this hive, but there is no enough time to talk about it. I can always be able to share important information, but the most important thing is that the bees are comfortable inside there, and you can maximize your honey production with this kind of a hive. They easily regulate the temperatures inside there. When it is very hot, they are able to fan out excessive air quite easily. And when it is so cold, they are able to fix propolis on the openings, which are just on the top cover, and the hive is warm again. And again, also, you are able to clean it up because it has a detachable floorboard. And so you can clean it up well and keep them, because some of the bees which die, some of them try to maintain, to live around there, and some of them are heavier than what the attendant nurses inside there are able to push it out. So sometimes when you're visiting your hives for inspection, you clean it up yourself. So let's go on so that we can be able to catch up with time and questions. Yeah. Now you see the faces we wanted to see in beekeeping are coming in. The youth. The young ladies over there, you can see over them, some of them wearing the bee suits you are seeing on the left-hand side there. They are ladies and the youth. And when you see the youth getting involved in an activity, then you have a future in that industry. So these are the ones that we are encouraging as much as we can to get involved in the bees and making it classy for them and showing them the importance through buying their honey, so that they see there's an activity for income generation. I am sure you will appreciate here there is no one of them who is wearing the earpods and some stuff which they put in here when they're in your offices. Here, its business is about bees, because listening about the voice of the bees. Next one. Yeah, that's how it is done. We have a lot of wild colonies in our fields, wherever we are coming from. We only set up the hive somewhere on a raised ground, at least 2 meters above, which we call the brood box. The bees themselves, because we normally put a bait with a swamulua. Swamulua is to call the bees inside. And when we put that, it really takes more than a month before the hive is colonized. Sometimes it's colonized while we are setting it up. You can see some ladies there. One is carrying a hive on her head, and the other one is just basically like walking. Actually, the one who is just walking like that, they are ladies. The one who is just walking like that is the one who is carrying the smoker and the hive tool and the bee brush. And that apiary you are seeing above there is theirs. So after the colonization, after the bees occupy the hive, we count 45 days. The bees have settled inside there. The queen has started laying eggs, and then you migrate to your stands, to your apiary side, which looks nice like that. And the next slide. Yeah, this is our farm in Masinga in eastern Kenya, Machakos County. And we normally grow, some seasons we grow sunflowers, not to harvest the seeds for any reason, maybe oils and all that, but some of our neighbors have really joined us in high momentum. We normally keep the bees there in some seasons to feed them and to increase the multiplication of our colonies, so that when you have bigger colonies, you get quicker yield, quick turnover of harvests. And again, also you get healthy bees that are able to fly even longer distances than normal in search of nectars. You get different types of, again, this is also a form of diversification. We were looking for honey and pollen, but you also get the sunflower oil. So again, also that is a source of income. And finally, others will also use the residues to make some soap, and also maybe for animal feed for those who have done animal production. The next slide. Yeah, traditional beekeepers, we have something for them. We create what we call honey hubs, like this one is in Narok. We create a honey hubs. We just basically get into a market, and then we hire a house there, a room there, maybe 2 rooms, and then we set up the small setup you're seeing here. Just basically the extractor is key. So we train them how to cut the comb. They select the comb outside the hives. You can see some log hives out there. Then how you cut the comb, and you put it in the bucket, then you put it on frame holders, you extract the honey out of that. Here, you are able to get what we call wax blocks, because you cannot take back this comb again. That is the biggest disadvantage of this traditional hive. You cannot take the combs back again. But yes, you extract the honey neatly, and then that comb, we transform it into wax blocks. The next slide over there. Yeah, that's inside the honey hub. The next one. Yeah, these are the products we get from such. These are some of the products that we get from those honey hubs. Like this is in Taita Taveta, Mwatate, and yeah, you know, we have our own apiarists. We call them apiarists, the technicians over there on the motorbikes. We have quite hundreds of motorbikes in the country for visiting farmers to ensure that they are doing the right at all times, to ensure that we keep the momentum of the farmers doing the right, and they are able to harvest continuously. Next slide. And by the way, just before we move out of that slide, this wax, we export it. And even inside our countries in Africa, most of the countries are even finding use of this. I know of a factory which has been established in Tanzania, which is consuming this wax for some reason. They are using it for production of some products. But the most important thing, we emphasize on this field support to ensure that the right thing is being done. We are showing the direction for the best of our farmers. Yeah, that looks like it from my desk. I am ready to answer any questions from the...
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bees. We'll call you Mr. Nuki. I think the other day we saw your photo, you were speaking to the bees, and that was quite amazing. I think that's maybe next time we'll have to play a video of how you talk to the bees. And the one thing I've learned today is about the swarm lure. I didn't know about that. I'm learning that today. So I'm sure each one of us has learned a new term today during the masterclass. And we hope that we can keep up with this. So we'll go straight into the questions. There's one question from Angela Limo, and she's asking, do you offer those the services for harvesting honey? Do you offer honey harvesting services? Then we have a second one from Timothy Mwangi. He says, I have bees in Ruiru, which need to be removed from that location. Are you able to assist in this activity for removing the bees? Because I think they're not supposed to be where they are. So maybe those 2 questions, and then we can delve into others. Thank you.
Yes, we do honey harvesting services, and not only that, we also do apiary management services on contract. And number 2 is bees relocation. That is actually one of our most serious activity we do. As we are talking now, right now, as we are here, we have 4 colonies in Nairobi which are being removed and 1 in Malindi. So we do that. So, and we relocate them to safer sites. We always say, why don't you have a hive? After removing them, we relocate them and we house them comfortably in that hive. They are not happy being where they are in your house roof. They will be comfortable being in their hive.
Thank you for that. So you can always contact the hive. I think they shared their contacts, and we are going to be, maybe you can project the last slide just for the contact sharing, so that they can get in touch with the hive or Mr. Nzuki for any of those services, for harvesting honey or for removing the bees where they're not supposed to be. One other question that is coming from our Facebook page, because we are streaming live on Facebook, is that what is your contract price per kg for farmers, and how profitable is this business if a single, if say you give if a single beehive gives around 20 kgs, then what is the starter kit? What does it include? So that's a question to you about the bees business.
The profitability is just simple. I would say, we always say you can start with 10 hives in the kit. The kit was mentioned to have there. But the best one that is a sure bet is 30, a minimum of 30 from my experience. But let's go for 10. If you really do very bad, and in a year you harvest from each hive, let's say 40 kilograms. So that means it's 400 kilograms of honey in a year. And then you are selling this honey. If you are doing retail, the price for retail is between 800 shillings, which basically in those old days is $8 to 1,100 shillings, which is basically those days $11. And you bought these hives on an average of 5,500, because that is usually the standard Langstroth hive. So 10 of them, you probably bought them with everything included. Maybe you spend about 100 to 150,000 shillings, because the extractor is expensive. So you can see the return on investment. We always say 18 months, 24 months, you are done with that. So it is. And then from there is no much costs that are involved in the day-to-day management of the hive. No, it is question of just going to inspect them and harvest. That's it.
And what's the contract price per kg for farmers? That's the other question.
Well, we have 2 contract prices. One, if it is from the Langstroth hive, we buy for 500 shillings per kilogram. And if it is for these traditional hives, is between 300 to 350 for the comb honey. When we go with you, because we include ourselves, we go with you, we harvest the honey in form of comb. So we weigh it. It is our cost to go and extract that honey. That's just a standard contract. Otherwise, there are other factors that we sometimes consider. Then we...
You're on mute, Nzuki. You've been muted.
Oh yeah, I unmute myself. Did you hear that?
No, we didn't hear the last part for the factors that that you have to consider.
Oh yeah, there are other factors, because sometimes you may say, now I know how to do it. And we say, yeah, go ahead. If you harvest and our work is just or you deliver the honey to us, of course the price goes high, because those are just the factors that affect the pricing. Yeah.
So there's I'm in touch with a few farmers who keep bees for livelihood, and one of the things that they are currently experiencing is the moth. I think I don't know what it's called, but it's a moth and some termites that are attacking the beehives. What would be challenges that you've seen, especially when it comes to keeping bees? Because we are all talking about the nice things about bees and the money, but what are the challenges that farmers would face when they start keeping these beehives, including now the solutions for such an issue like the moth that is attacking the bees? Yeah.
This moth has a name. It is called the wax moth. You know, bees usually, bees, they use the wax. The wax you see inside, it is very nice hexagonal cells that they are used as storage for the honey. So while they are busy building those combs to store their honey, another guy is busy eating that comb, and that comb is actually made of wax. So that is called wax moth. When strong colonies, they are usually not really affected by wax moth like weak colonies. And what we normally do is, the correct practice is to make sure that there is regular inspections. So the inspection sheet says you should inspect your hives at least between 4 to 6 weeks. And when you find those wax moths inside, it is good time to treat the frames that are affected with the wax moth with dry heat. And that one we train how to do it. So it is easy to manage the bees, to manage the wax moth through regular inspection. But if one leaves it unattended for quite a long time, then of course the wax moth will just breed inside there. And you know, it's a bad moth. It comes only at night, and it will breed inside there. It will even destroy your hive, because they burrow into the hive to keep their eggs there, and their pupae to develop on the edges, and then it keeps reinfecting the other hives that are around there. So that's the best way of doing it. However, in some of the countries, and this is the downfall of most of these countries that we have, they use some pesticides to control the wax moths, which are selective only to the moth and not to the bee. And then in the end, you have bees which cannot actually repass that. They have to depend on the chemicals that you are using. So basically, yeah, we are able to control this. Not only that, we also have the hive beetles. And these hive beetles, we put some hive traps inside the hive that traps the beetles before they get inside there. We also have what we call there is a certain type of wasp that only feeds on bees. So it comes and sits at the entrance of the hive, and then picks up the bees as they fly out, or they land inside there. There are diseases like foul brood, and this one, it's basically hygiene situations that we have to keep our hives clean from infections, and we do not import bees, and we do not import bee products, especially that are meant from the body of the bee, like the wax itself. So that's why the governments are serious to ensure that we do not import wax from other countries, because that is the primary source of infection. Yeah. And then we can discuss a lot. We can discuss a lot. If this was a training, we can do a seminar, and then we discuss a lot.
Yeah. No, I think we might have to break it down into parts. Maybe identify some of the key areas in the beekeeping, production or marketing or something. Then we can get into a second session maybe later in the year or early next year, just to follow up on this conversation. And maybe on a final question, because we have a few minutes left, just in case somebody would like to keep bees, do you give advisory services on, like, say, for example, advising on a viable site where these beehives can be kept? I know you mentioned Westlands and all these, not Westlands the place, but Westlands, and then places where maybe you've kept stones and stuff, you can put your bees. But do you really advise on how the viable? I saw the beautiful layout of those beehives, and definitely that's not a wasteland or even a site that has been abandoned. How do you give advisory, and also just on the viability of the site?
Yes, we do help. We do help. Sorry, are we okay?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Yeah, We do professional feasibility studies and give you a report on your farm. We will use all tools available. If it's a big land, you will see us, fly some cameras on the space, and of course collect data of what type of plants which are around you, the neighborhood, 3 kilometers radius, even as we drive around there. We do search. We do from the basic ones to quite intensive one and complicated ones, detailed one for organizations, companies, or governments. For communities, we do also what we call a baseline survey, because it's not only about the hives being hung there, it's about more ingredients that inform whether your project can be feasible there. But if you are doing a small project, yes, we help you in site selection and we come over there on the ground. That's why we insist we need to come and do the installation ourselves, and also we insist the necessity of training. But before installation, in most cases, we come to visit the site and help you choose the site.
Thank you so much, Nzuki. I think that has been one of the most informative sessions that we've had within the course of this year. And I'm sure most of us, as we grow our crops, we never think about bees. But I think today, in every farm, there should be like a beehive or two, one or two within the farm. And maybe just a quick last question. When you're talking about, the ratio of beehives to the farm, if a farmer is to keep bees, to set up a beehive on a farm, maybe what is the ratio of the beehives to the acreage? Is there a specific ratio that has to be used?
On the agronomy perspective, you do need 5 to 8 hives. We are working with the avocado and the melon farmers. Some of them are they are coming to hire hives from us when their crop is about to flower. So they hire at a fee, but you need not less than 5 hives per acre, because you are talking of a population of about 25,000 to 40,000 bees per hive. And that is quite a good population, because not all of them are going to the field, but most of them, at least the flower, to be visited severally to ensure that Afula, you will find that for the seed to be formed, the seed informs the shape of the fruit and also the size. So well-pollinated fruit, for example, you will rarely find it deformed. And this is quite a characteristic on the peppers, the big capsicums. When you find it deformed, when you open inside, you find one side does not have seed. So it means it was not properly pollinated, because probably the agronomist applied a lot of defensive chemicals that chase the bees away. So the population, the question to answer it well is 5 to 8 hives per acre.
You've had it from Mr. Nzuki himself, 5 to 8 beehives per acre to ensure that you have pollination. I think this year we've had a lot of issues when it comes to maize and people getting, crops that didn't have seeds or very little seeds. So probably that was one of the reasons why we needed bees on farms. So we better protect our environment in terms of what we are spraying on our farms. We better be friendly. Bees can be used in various ways. We've had some of the takeaways that we are getting from this session. They can be used to protect, like the human-animal conflict that we are getting in areas where there are wildlife and human settlements. So we can use some of the bees to actually set up and keep off some of the animals that come to interfere with our households. Of course, there's the income part. And of course, there's the saving the planet part. And saving the planet is providing food on the table. So I would like to thank the Society of Crop Agribusiness Advisors for hosting this masterclass. And we'll definitely have another masterclass within the week. Just be on the lookout on all our social media handles at soccer_advocacy on Twitter, Society of Crop Agribusiness Advisors on Facebook, and definitely on our website, that is www.soca.or.ke, just to ensure that you're up to speed with what is going on with the masterclasses and within the agricultural space. We also have an agribusiness trade summit that is currently that has already been launched, happening on the 7th and 8th of December this year. So make sure you register to attend. There are current nominations that are happening at the individual level and also at corporate level in the various spaces of agriculture, in terms of advisory, in terms of crop protection, what you're doing in the space. So just log on to the site. Maybe you can type in the site that is being managed for the Agribusiness Trade Forum or Summit, so that people can log in and nominate the individuals who they would like to vote for and the corporates they would like to vote for. So thank you so much, and have a good evening, good afternoon, and good morning from wherever you're listening.